While Islam and Muslim culture for 6 centuries had been firmly established in the Middle East, Iran and Central Asia, and for some time had taken root in Anatolia, it was not until the 13th century that Islam began to have a definite impact on the regions north of the Black Sea and the Caucasus. An Arab historian and secretary to the Egyptian Sultan Baybars, he described Krim as a settlement where there lived Greeks, Armenians, Russians, Pechenegs, Polovstians, Khazars, and Alans. Seljuk Muslims, who now dominated the center and north of Anatolia, began to cast their eyes on Crimea. This was at a time when the Mongols were advancing determinedly through central and western Eurasia. In 1257, the Khanate passed to Batu Khan's brother, Berke, 1209 to 1266, the first Kipchak ruler to convert to Islam. The following half-century was one of intense growth of Islam in Crimea. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Stari Krim and the Mosque of Uzbek Khan, advancing Islam in Eurasia in the 13th and 14th centuries. With Kipchak Khanate control of the peninsula, Krim became the regional capital of the Crimean Yurt, a key factor in its development being the accession to the Kipchak throne of Uzbek Khan, 1282 to 1341, in 1313. Uzbek Khan was to become its greatest and most competent ruler. Its capital, Sarai, was one of the most populated in the world, almost twice as large as Paris, Rome, and Amsterdam. He converted to Islam and declared the faith as the state religion under the guidance of his senior advisor, the Muslim Kutluk Timur, whom Uzbek Khan appointed as the governing Amir in Krim, in acknowledgement of its key function as a dynamic center of Islamic learning, of trade, and of manufacturing, and as a conduit to his allies in the heartlands of Islam, Greece, Byzantium, and Europe. The Crimean Ulus was to help Uzbek Khan in the complex business of consolidating the reformation of the state within the context of the new religion. Physical testimony to the relationship between the Khan and Krim survives in the mosque now known as that of Uzbek Khan. However, the building which we see today is not the original, but a late 15th century construction, incorporating major decorative elements from the original, which was built at another, as yet unknown, location. The building has a carved entrance portal in Seljuk style, with a triangular conch above the door, decorated with stalactite mukhanas, framed by flanking marble columns and capitals and carved vegetal friezes. Above the doorway is an inscription in Arabic dated 714 Hijra, 1314 Common Era, with the name Muhammad Uzbek Khan and that Abdul Aziz ibn Ibrahim al-Arbili, who may have been the donor, builder, or architect. In form, the mosque is a basilica with a central nave separated by 3 marble columns with capitals from aisles on both sides. The mosque mihrab repeats the basic form of the portal, but is even more richly ornamented with vegetal motifs and Quranic epigraphy. It is not known by whom or why the new mosque was created in this place. However, in the past, there was an inscription, now vanished, in the mosque recording that in 918 Hijra, 1512 to 13 Common Era, the Crimean Khan Menjil Jireh, 1445 to 1515, had a minbar built there. The art historian Alexa Hieroronsky interestingly conjectures on the basis of the similarity of its carving of the mosque's mihrab to the turba or mausoleum of the first Crimean Khans, which Menjil Jireh commissioned in his new capital of Selachik, near Bakshish Sarai. That they were by the same master carver, Thus the Khan may have decided to preserve the legacy of the great Kipchak ancestor by having a new mosque constructed which commemorated him by incorporating the most important original components. If this is the case, the historical value of the Uzbek Khan Mosque for the Crimea is magnified as a continuing symbol of the magnificence to Muslims of the ancestral Kipchak heritage. The minaret is new, having replaced one which had deteriorated over time. Immediately adjacent to the south wall of the Uzbek Khan Mosque are the ruins of a madrasa built prior to it, whose construction was made possible by the donation of a wife of a local ruler of Krim in 1332-1333. Inshibek Khatun Madrasa complex is a concrete testimony to the importance of education and learning in early Islamic Crimea. It was entered through a tall stone gateway decorated in Seljuk style. This has now disappeared but is depicted in the 1780 watercolor painting by the Russian Mikhail Malvayevich Ivanov of a romantic view of the ruins of Krim. The internal courtyard of this madrasa has vaulted student cells on three sides with two open iwans on its north-south axis. The western side had a large open iwan which would have functioned as a classroom and was flanked by enclosed study rooms. A cell on the north side of the madrasa courtyard became a mausoleum for the foundress, whose marble tombstone dated 776 Hijra, 1374-75 Common Era, was discovered at the site in 1925, but has since vanished. Like the adjacent Uzbek Khan Mosque, the madrasa's architecture, building techniques and decoration reflect those of the Seljuk Emirates in Anatolia across the Black Sea to the south. The original elements of the mosque and madrasa are the earliest dated Muslim constructions in Crimea. By the first quarter of the 15th century, the madrasa was in decline. An earthquake in the 1420s destroyed its roofing, but this merely exacerbated other setbacks, both natural and political. Krim's 14th century fame was short-lived. After reaching an apogee of development and activity during the reigns of Uzbek Khan and his son, Janibek Khan, the Black Death, which decimated the region in 1346-47, and the murder of Janibek marked the beginning of the disintegration of the Khanate of Kipchak. Amir Timur invaded and destroyed the great Kipchak urban capitals on the Volga in 1395, deporting most of that region's skilled craftsmen to Central Asia, resulting in a catastrophic dislocation of the innovative fusion of urban civilization, irrigated agriculture, and nomadic steppe culture, laboriously created under successive Kipchak administrations. Amir Timur also devastated Krim. In the 15th century, the Khanate of Kipchak disintegrated into several smaller Khanates, the most important of which were those of Crimea, Astrakhan, and Kazan. Internecine struggles within Crimea eventually ended with Haji Giray taking control in 1443 of the peninsula and the steppes of Little Tartaria to the north. He became the founder of the Crimean Giray dynasty, which was to rule until 1783, albeit as a semi-independent protectorate of the Ottoman Turks, who controlled the southern coastal zone of Crimea from 1475. For Crimean Tatars, Eski Krim is a locus of identity. Its remarkable development in the 13th and 14th centuries was in many ways the historical crucible of this national and cultural identity. Crimea continued to be a crossroads of peoples, faiths and cultures under the aegis of Islam. The Uzbek Khan Mosque is physical testimony to the faith of its Muslim peoples and to their role in the advancement of Islam and to the nobility and quality of their contribution to the late medieval flowering of culture, learning, commerce, and international confessional cooperation in southern and central Eurasia.